by
That's
a
it.
team
Yeah.
position kills him. But I'm shocked. I also think that if Denver didn't have Drew Lock, and if the Chargers didn't get a quarterback to land to them, he probably would have ended up in one of those cities. Because their teams are very. I just feel like he's not out of his prime yet. He's probably got a couple more years. All depends on his health. And we haven't seen him play healthy since that Super Bowl year. We forget, and I'm going to say this as a Broncos fan, that next year when they played the Panthers to open the season, he was getting hit after the whistle. He was concussed, and that hasn't been the same since.
Yeah, I think that the medical thing really is probably scaring teams off. But on the flip side of that, the Jaguars, they were smart. They traded Foles to the Bears because of his injury history now. So the Bears maybe would have been smarter instead of trading for Foles to potentially sign Newton. I'm more of a Trubisky fan than most, so I guess they want to give Trubisky a chance to compete there. But Joe, the big shock was that Dalton signed with the Cowboys and the Patriots weren't interested. I couldn't believe it. I was thinking, Dalton goes to the Patriots. Easily, they win 9 to 10 games. They're in the playoffs, no problem. But he's going to Dallas, so maybe Dak's going to hold out here, and they want to have an insurance policy instead of Cooper Rush as the backup quarterback in Dallas.
A pretty good insurance policy because I still think Andy Dalton's good enough to start somewhere. And yeah, I mean, I thought the Patriots were going to go out and make a move for a quarterback too. I watched Jarrett Stidham last year. He played in one of the games that where the Jets played the Patriots in New England, and he came in and he threw 2 picks. And I wasn't in love with him at Auburn. I mentioned this on a previous podcast, Nick. And apparently New England loves him. And they had both Cam Newton and Andy Dalton right out there for the taking. Neither guy was going to be that expensive. Both guys had starting experience. Both guys have led teams to the playoffs before. It just seemed like a no-brainer for them. And now you really, really, really have to hope Stidham is good. Because if he's not good, now you're behind the 8 ball because every other team in that division has a quarterback. So it's going to be interesting to see. And you're obviously right with Dalton and Dallas. He's definitely an insurance policy. They've been playing the game with Dak. I think they should have paid him a while ago. I think they made a mistake paying Ezekiel Elliott instead. I think they should have paid Dak before him and probably retained him and Amari Cooper. And to me, there's no point in accumulating guys like Cooper and Michael Gallup, and they took CeeDee Lamb in the first round this year. It's a lot of guys to throw to, but you weren't going to pay your quarterback, right? So, and I think the Dalton contract's only 1 year, right? So it's a 1-year insurance policy. After this year, if they let Dak walk and they can't really get a deal done with Dalton, then what are they going to do? So, but yeah, it's interesting that he landed in Dallas. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I figured he would want to go somewhere where you have a chance to start, but maybe this is a chance where he could maybe start if there is a holdout. And the other thing that I wanted to, what leaked out to me when the schedule came out here, and this is what Anthony's going to hate because he hates the quarterback, but Joe, we talked about it recently. The Colts are lined up for major success this season with the schedule, the weak AFC South, the not as strong AFC East, the okay AFC West for the most part, unless the Broncos come charging in. Phillip Rivers, Anthony's guy, Joe, is going to be leading the Colts to probably the AFC title game.
Oh,
Very strong.
That is strong.
If they get a bye, then I could see what you're saying.
Jonathan Taylor is going to be Rookie of the Year, most likely.
Yeah, Offensive Rookie of the Year.
They have a good roster. The only thing I'll say is with Rivers, it's different. The only difference between him and what Brissett did last year is yes, Rivers is going to throw for a lot more yards, but he's also going to turn the ball over a lot more. And part of what the Colts even were close to making the playoffs for was because they didn't turn the ball over. And I don't know. I know people like to prop him up, but I don't know if you watch Phillip Rivers on the field, but he's a major crybaby. And I can't imagine that's going to roll when you're not, the guy in the organization. He's there for a year. Like, if he rubs people the wrong way, like, is that going to stick there?
Well, congrats to Phillip Rivers, who already accepted a head coaching job in a high school in Alabama.
They just watching him yell at kids, too, is going to be hilarious. No, they are going to be good, though. Regardless of how I feel about Rivers, that they picked up Brocker. Their offensive line is probably the best in the league. And they, like you said, they added weapons and like guys like Taylor. I like that team. If Rivers doesn't turn the ball over late, that division stinks. So they could go far. I'm just not confident in him.
Yeah. I have no confidence in Bill O'Brien as well. I think the Texans need to really move on from him at some point. But so Joe, schedules come out. So right now, give me a Super Bowl prediction.
Wow, I'm making a Super Bowl prediction in May. We don't even know if we're going to have a season.
Exactly. So you could just say no Super Bowl as your prediction. No Super Bowl as the prediction.
I'm going to make a lofty prediction. I think the Chiefs repeat.
Oh,
I do.
It's logical. I hate to hear it.
I think the fact that it took so long for Andy Reid to get the first one, now there's no pressure on him. He's not going to have to deal with any of the headaches of like, oh, you fell short multiple times, and he's clearly got the quarterback. And remember, Pat Mahomes did not play well in the Super Bowl. He was solid. He made a couple of big throws when he needed to, but he really didn't play well at all. The 49ers dominated over 3/4 of that game, and they still lost by 11 freaking points. That's crazy to me. Yeah, but they were down double digits in every single playoff game they played last year, and they still won the Super Bowl. Can you imagine if they don't get behind the 8 ball in those types of games this coming season?
But when's the last time we had a repeat champion? I mean, it's so hard to do in the NFL. It really is.
Yeah,
I'm going to do it, and that's probably it.
I'm going to go with the Chiefs and the Saints.
The Saints. Okay, so no love for the Bucks, who are going to be in every Sunday night football game, every Monday night football game, every Thursday night football game. Every primetime game is going to be the Bucks. It's crazy.
I think the Bucks and the Colts, to me, are in the same boat. I think a lot of people are talking them up, and they both have really, really good rosters. But at the end of the day, they have two older quarterbacks on the downsides of their careers, and those quarterbacks are no longer in their previous situations where they were pretty well taken care of. And in Brady's case, he was coddled in New England probably 5 or 6 more years than any other normal quarterback would have likely been in their careers, right? So now we get to see Brady. Like, he's got great receivers, yes, pretty solid offensive line. But now we're going to see, just what he's really – I think this year is going to be really important. Because if he plays well, I think it adds to his legacy. If he doesn't play well, then you're going to have a lot of questions about maybe Bill really was the brains behind the operation up there for the last 20 years. I think it's very possible.
I mean, Anthony, who gets to a Super Bowl first, Belichick or Brady?
Oh, that's tough. I don't know.
Could be neither.
Brady has like 1 or 2 years left. So
yeah, I'll say Belichick, because if Brady doesn't go like Keith just said in the next 2 years, he's done. Like I don't think, the way I look at it is that this team. You look at when older quarterbacks change rosters, like even with Peyton Manning, that team was good, but they weren't going to win the Super Bowl. Even if Raheem Moore makes that play on the Ravens, I'm not sure they win the Super Bowl that year. Like, it probably takes a year for them to gel. Gronk is a lot smaller than he was, and Brady's another year older. Same thing with Phillip Rivers. He's another year older. Like, I know that guys are playing longer in their careers, but one bad hit on Brady and, like, their entire season can go haywire.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Joe, that the Saints, hopefully they can finally break through this year, because it's just been, they're getting screwed every year. I am a big Kirk Cousins guy, so I do like the Vikings. I think the Vikings are good. Really the NFC North is really good outside the Lions. The Bears are going to be good. They have a great defense. And I think, Anthony, Aaron Rodgers is coming for him this year. He's out to prove to everybody that he's still a bad man.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I hope they struggle, because if Drew Lock is not the guy, then LA loves some veteran quarterbacks. So go make the move for Rodgers next year. If I'm picking the Super Bowl right now, I think the Ravens I'm just to keep my Broncos pride, I'm going to say the Ravens come out of the AFC.
What about the Broncos?
Well, listen, I don't want to sound like a homer. I mean, I look at the schedule, I see 16-0, but we have to be realistic here. And I like Seattle. I think Seattle was every bit as good as San Francisco last year. I need to see that the Vikings that their defense could withstand losing the pieces they did, and they lost a top wideout. I know they got Justin Jefferson, The Packers, I have to see them play because they have a lot of holes on their roster, and who's Rodgers going to throw to?
Nobody.
And I think the Niners took more of a step back. I like the Seahawks, and the quarterback situation makes me very confident in them.
Yeah,
so
Joe, Joe, imagine what Russell Wilson could have been doing in his career with actually a good head coach. I mean, I think Pete Carroll has cost Russell Wilson a lot of trips to the Super Bowl.
I think Carroll's at that point where he's a lot of the praise you see on him is just purely based on reputation. I mean, he's had moments where I think he's coached that team down, so to speak. You see it every single season. I mean, we saw week 1 last year when Cincinnati went into Seattle and almost beat them. That team, more so than I think any other team in the NFL, plays up and down to their opponents. So you saw last year those 2 games against San Francisco were 2 of the best games of the whole season, and they absolutely came right down to the very, very last seconds. But then there were other games during the season where Seattle kind of looked lackadaisy and lack of focus. And I also think Russell Wilson, to me, is like the second or third best quarterback in the NFL. I think he's consistently underrated. I think historically he's going to be one of the most underrated players to ever play the game. And I think that offense doesn't really do him any favors because they love running the football. And sure, you need balance on offense to win, and it's worked for them for a while. How many double-digit seasons has he had since he came into the league, right? I think it's the most next to, I would say, Brady, right? So, but again, that offense does him no favors. He's absolutely electric to watch. He's one of the best improvisers in football, right next to Aaron Rodgers. He's great with his legs. He's got a very, very underrated arm too. And he's the kind of guy who doesn't really have a lot of great receivers up there either. You know, like his best receiver over the years was probably Doug Baldwin, and he retired, well over a year ago, right? So
we had Jimmy Graham, who was terrible.
Yeah, but he had Graham on the downside of his career. DK Metcalf, I didn't think he was going to be that good as a rookie. He looked sensational, and he looked like he gave him exactly what Russell Wilson has always needed, which was a big-time potential weapon on the outside who he could throw to and just use his arm to say, here, I'm going to throw you the ball, go get it, right? That's what he's always needed, right? Jimmy Graham couldn't be that guy. So
I just want you to just imagine what a guy like Russell Wilson could do with Joe Judge. Just imagine that. All right, so let's move on here. The big news is that Money in the Bank happened. That yes, Vince McMahon does use hand sanitizer. A very smart guy. Johnny Ace gets a pie to the face, and of course, the most important thing here is that, and we'll start with Joe on this one. Otis is Mr. Money in the Bank.
Yo, Mandy, I did it. I lost it last night. I was so happy.
I mean, the right decision, but it's terrible it wasn't in front of an audience because that would have just Mandy could have came out. He could have put him on his shoulder, and then they could have it would have just been magical. But kudos to Vince McMahon for running with the hot hand, and you got Otis, who's Mr. Money in the Bank, and Anthony. I know Otis is a big role model of yours.
Oh, I aspire to be Otis every day I live my life. I couldn't have been more happy, and I'm shocked you guys thought he was going to win. I thought he was going to be in there, do everything he did, and just not win. I still have to watch tonight, so we don't know what's going to happen, but I liked it. I'm really easy to please when it comes to the comedy aspect, and I love these taped segments. I thought it was awesome. And like you said, Vince McMahon is coming around a little bit. You saw it last year with Kofi. We've seen it with Otis now. He's been smartly playing the hot hand. I thought the Paul Heyman stuff was genius.
Yeah, that was a lot of food for Paul Heyman. I mean, that was funny. But Joe, what is your message to certain wrestling fans out there? Maybe you want to call them the IWC, who say Vince does not listen to the fans.
He does listen to the fans. The problem is that they have to always balance to appealing to the hardcore people who are never going to stop watching, like me, like the schmucks who've been watching for 20 plus years. And they also have to certainly cater to a casual person who just wants to come in, watch it every now and then, and feel like they're watching a spectacle, right? So whoever's getting pushed at the forefront of these shows, you see them kind of fit